Hey, do you remember when the U.S. national team got knocked out of the Olympics by the Swedish team? And then Hope Solo said the Swedish team played like cowards and kind of condemned them for not getting out and playing more aggressive. Well, she was really off target, not because she was saying anything, let's say, mean or anything, in my opinion, but she was off target because the Swedish team wasn't playing like cowards. What they were doing was playing smart. I mean, that's really what it's all about, is taking the team you have, playing the tactics and the strategy necessary to beat the other team. That's all you're really there to do. I mean, that's what coaching is for. When you look at youth soccer today, a lot of it is the same way. A lot of these kids are pretty good players, but they're running around without any real strategy or any real tactics. So yesterday when we were at practice, and I've taken over this team, and this team has not really been developed, and that was my whole mission, was to take Soccer Labs, Soccer Pro, combine it with some fairly not typical field training, and get these kids to be a really good team. Take them from, let's say, a Division 4, Division 3, get them up to a Division 1 team. Now, I've talked about some of the struggles doing that, and the jury's still out as to where we're going to go with this. But yesterday, we were at practice, and what ends up happening is we get to the scrimmage portion of the practice, and of course, the teams get divided up, and right now it's a little bit of a hodgepodge. We don't have the defined teams. We've got different people coming. I mean, that's part of the problem that I'm having right now developing this team, is we're just not getting any level of consistency. But anyhow, the coach that had the teams before, he said, hey, why don't you divide them up into 2 teams and let's get the scrimmage going. Well, I don't really know these players that well because A, they don't show up for practice, and B, some of them are from one team, some are from the other team. So I did my best and I divided the players up. I don't really know them that well, but I know some of them, so I thought I divided them up fairly equally. But as they lined up, the coach came over, he goes, you lined these guys up? You divided the team? I said, yeah, I divided, and he kind of chuckled because he thought I divided them up really poorly, and I divided one team was real strong and the other team was real weak. I don't know, I just said, okay, well, let's just play. We're already set up, let's just go. I didn't want to delay, I just want to go. So what I ended up doing was I ended up coaching the team, or let's call it the weaker team. Now, this team wasn't completely, with lousy players. There are some good players on it. And one kid in particular, he's a really good striker, very aggressive, younger kid, actually a year down, but he's very aggressive at striking. And I just put him up front in a good position where I knew he would excel for our group. Well, sure enough, it wasn't too long before we're up 6-2 in the scrimmage. So we're beating, supposed to be the better players, and they're a little bit shocked, right? But I really wasn't happy with the way that they were playing because it was a little bit too much solo effort, okay? They weren't getting the ball wide, they weren't dispersing or distributing the ball the way I wanted them to pull the defenders out of the middle and get better ball movement on our team. Well, the other team wasn't either, but I wasn't coaching that team, they were running on their own. So what I did was I ended up switching sides. So we're up 6-2. We only had about 10 minutes left, so I switched sides and I went over to the other team, and now I started coaching them, telling them, hey, look, this position, that position, you need to get here, let's get the ball wide, and basically quarterbacking from, let's say, the goal position, because what happens, in my opinion, is that the goalkeeper is the quarterback and they need to distribute the ball, and they start it off, especially after a shot, and it's that whole transition soccer. I want them to get the ball, I want them to distribute in a very specific way, and I want them building out of the back in a very specific way, okay? I'm actually taking a lot of the decision making away from the kids because I don't want them thinking too much. What I want them to do is get systematic and rapid fire reaction. I want them to get the ball, I want them to turn, I want them to go in a specific direction and have a check 1, a check 2, and a check 3. I mean, it's really comes down to being that simple, just like in American football and a quarterback and his receivers. He's got a check 1, a check 2, a check 3. I go through that same process when there's a shot on goal. I want the goalkeeper to do the exact same thing. I want him to get the ball from whatever side it came from. I want him to turn, go the other way, and distribute the ball to his check 1, check 2, check 3. And I've defined who those check 1, 2, 3 options are. And when we do that, it happens very quickly, the transition goes very smoothly, and we get the ball way up the field, okay? So it's just very effective, right? Very quick, very effective, very predictable, using smarter tactics and strategy than the other team. So by doing that, we beat the other guys, and we're ahead again, 6-2. Well, I switched and went to the other side. And now what I did was I applied a different strategy. I told the guys, look, we got to get the ball wide. I want you to do the same thing the other guys are doing. And on top of that, since they were dribbling up the middle so regularly and so predictably, what I did was I took one guy, the right side fullback, defender, and I said, look, Abraham, what I want you to do, no, actually I'm going to stop mentioning names, but Abraham was kind of the hero of this story, so I guess it's okay. I said, what I want you to do is I want you to get on that guy, and every time you switch, every time we transition from offense to defense, I don't want you going back into your, let's call it position. What I want you doing is I want you going right to that guy and making sure he can't do anything with the ball, okay? And sure enough, from the rest of the game on, they kept putting the ball into the middle. We would take the ball right back. We would distribute it wide. We'd push it up the field, and before you know it, guess what? It's 6-6, okay? Boom, boom, boom. So now we had the better players, the better team, stronger team in general, and we were applying better tactics, better strategy. So it was very quick work of this other team. And of course, we went to the tiebreaker, and our team won. Now, at the end of practice, everyone goes back to the car, and I run into these guys in the parking lot, and I say to the young kid, his dad was there, his brother was there, and I said, hey, so-and-so, what do you think happened at the end of the game? Why weren't you scoring at the end of the game when you were scoring so easily early in the game? And, basically the ball got stolen from you and then passed to another guy, and then we scored, and that's actually how we won the game. So I didn't rub that salt in the wound, but I did ask him, what do you think happened at the end of the game? And he goes, well, Abraham, he kept stiff-arming me, he kept doing this, he kept doing that, and then they weren't passing, then this, and then that, and then this, and all these different things. I said, no, that's not what happened. I said, all I did was I came out and I just applied a different strategy. You were dribbling too much. I kept asking you to distribute the ball to the wingers, get it wide. You weren't doing that, so you were very predictable, very easy to stop. All I had to do is take one person, put them on you, and right away you would lose the ball because you couldn't move. But you tried to move, okay? So very predictable, and any smart coach is going to do this to you. And here's what your typical 10-year-old will do. Your typical 10-year-old will tell you how wrong you are and how what really happened is his version of the story. That's just what they do. So that's where you've got to have the video. You've got to get these kids on video. They've got to see it for themselves, and you show them, look, it's not because he stiff-armed you or because this happened or that happened. This is what's really happening in the game. They have to see it to believe it. They have to believe before they're going to change. So if you want to get your team playing better strategy, playing better tactics during the game, during the scrimmages, but in this case we'll just pick on games because I actually don't video scrimmages. You've got to video the games. You've got to break it down for them. You have to show them what's happening, what's working, what's not working, what we can be doing better. And if you're not doing that, these kids just don't get it. In their mind something is happening, but it's not what is in your mind. And no level of discussion, no level of convincing, no level of anything is going to get them to believe it until they see it. And even then, sometimes it's still hard. But you'll never get there, okay? By the end of the conversation with this 10-year-old, I was like, okay, you can believe what you want to believe, but this is what's happened. And even after I told him, he still wasn't convinced, okay? Just wasn't convinced. These kids need to be taught. We have to teach them skills development. We have to teach them brain training. We've got to use video. We've got to use technology. We have to use the tools that are available to us as a wealthier nation than are available to the poorer nations. If we want to catch up to countries like Brazil, we can't just expect to go out there and have the kids play street soccer in bare feet like they do in Brazil. That's not the answer. One, we're not going to do it. Two, it's just not the answer. We've got to use technology. We've got to use what we can build upon as a wealthy nation in our culture, in our system, and do it better, accelerate the intelligence of these kids in mass and get them all playing smarter. That's what it takes to win. So Hope Solo, when she said that they were cowards, she was just completely wrong. They weren't playing as cowards. They were playing as smart soccer players. And we need to all be collectively making our soccer players smarter so we don't get knocked out of the Olympics. Or maybe we'll get into the World Cup on the men's side with smarter players, better skilled players, and players that are just playing a better style of soccer. You can talk about robotics and creativity and all the rest of it, but you can't be creative when you're playing wrong. You can't be creative when you're getting stuffed. You can't be creative when you're easily out-coached. There is no creativity when that happens. So you have to make a good system of play. Inside that system of play with good fundamental skills, now you can get creative as a soccer player or as any athlete. So this is my latest edition of what's happening with my implementation of Soccer Pro into this club to make a higher level team. Again, I'm not sure where this is going to go. I'm having a hard time because there's no roster, there's no attendance, there's no commitment. But I'll tell you this. It is extremely easy to take this low-hanging fruit and in one session completely alter it. Or, like I demonstrated here, in even half of a scrimmage, all I have to do is go from one side to the other side and apply the strategy, basic soccer fundamentals, basic soccer strategy, and it works because we don't have to be smart. We just need to be smarter than a 10-year-old or a 12-year-old. Frankly, that's not that hard, okay? We can be smarter than 10-year-olds, but we have to convince them that we're smarter than them. We have to make them believe we're smarter than them, and we have to do it with results, right? We have to go out there and help them win games, but they have to see it, right? If they just keep making the same mistakes, whether you win the game because you played a weak team, or you lost the game because of whatever the reason might be, they're still not going to believe it. They're going to think they were getting stiff-armed or pushed or someone else wasn't passing or, 100 reasons. So we have to take video. We have to break it down. We have to analyze it with them. We have to put the coach's notes embedded into the video so they can stop the video, see the screen, analyze it, hear your voice, see the text, look at the arrows, look at the circles, look at the shading, whatever it might be. You've got to have that in your video to convince these kids so that they can be better players and we can be more successful as a soccer club, soccer team, and eventually a soccer nation. All right, this is Gary with Soccer Pro and Soccer Labs. I'm done with practice here. I want to go home and I'll fill you in as to what happens later. Right now, soccer shut down a little bit, so that makes it even more confusing, a little more difficult, but we'll see. Anyhow, have a great day. If you don't have an account with Soccer Pro today, it's free today, it's free forever. Just go get your account, start using it, start making smarter players, and you will love it. It has the only travel itinerary system for you travel teams, travel admins. We have a meal planner in there, so if you are doing any showcases, if you're doing any tournaments, if you're doing any out-of-state play, you need to have Soccer Pro as your scheduling system because we're the only one that take into account what you need as a soccer team when you travel. All right, you have a great day and good luck on the pitch. Bye now.